And good evening, and welcome to another edition of Sports Corner. My name is Ralph Williams, and my co-host Smokin, Jim Frazier by phone. Smokin, Jim, good evening, and it's great to have you on the show tonight. Absolutely, man. You know we got a super duper one next week. Everybody, next week, Marty Lee from Rum Bunters will be on here to talk about the Pirates and their line, and also to talk about the Brian Reynolds situation. Marty Leap next week, right here on Sports Corner, and you never know who else I might have on as well. But tonight, I have on special guest from Tampa, Florida, Leo Haggerty, and Leo's been on the show before, and he's a great friend of mine from down there in Tampa, Florida. Leo, how you doing, buddy? How's everything?
I'm hanging in there, Ralph. I'm 7 days into my 33 days of radiation treatment, and then I'm going to ring the bell.
Oh, that's great, Leo, man. It's great to hear that you're recovering well from everything that you've had, some of your ailments. First question I have is, have you ever heard you saying, Leo, it's better to be lucky than good? Because I think Tampa Bay kind of got lucky on Sunday with that game against the Saints. What's your thoughts on that, Leo?
Well, let's be honest. The Saints gift wrapped it and gave it to the Buccaneers, and I'm going to give you two or three examples of that, and then I'm going to give you another couple, which probably the NFL don't want to hear. But the first was, Mark Ingram didn't make it to the first down marker. And again, everybody says, well, doesn't he see the yellow line? Well, there's a yellow line in the field, but there he was staring right at the yard marker, which I'm going, okay, why'd you go out of bounds? And then the play call on 3rd and 1, where they threw that quick pass, all they got to do is hand the ball off. If they don't make the first down, Tampa Bay has to use a timeout or another 40 seconds runs off. If they make the first down, game over. And it boggled my mind with that. Another thing that people, there must have been at least 3 drops by Saints receivers that would have definitely resulted in points. Olave dropped one, and then I think the other wide receiver did. But the one play, which I thought was real interesting, it's still 16-3. Brady hits the tight end, Otten. He dives, makes the catch. In comes one of the Saints, and while Otten's on the ground, he knocks the ball out. Well, the referee said, no, he's down. And he wasn't down by contact. And they knocked the ball out, and you can see the Saints bench is erupting. But here's the problem. It's under 2 minutes. They can't throw the challenge flag. And nobody in the booth decided to challenge it. That was a huge play. But again, for 57 minutes, the Saints defense held the Bucs to 3 points, and then all of a sudden the roof fell in.
Well, I've said this many times, Leo, and I think you'll agree with me. Smokin' Jim has heard me say it too as well. My co-host here is Dennis Allen is not a really good head coach. He wasn't great when he was with the Oakland Raiders. He stunk. He's a good defensive coordinator, but I don't think he's a good head coach. I think the Saints made the bad decision of moving him up. I'm not real sold on Todd Bowles either. What's your story on Todd Bowles?
It's funny you should say that, because I don't know if you heard on Troy Aikman even said, they need Arians to come back. I go, whoa, he just threw Todd Bowles under the bus and backed up on him. Yeah. Again, it's hard to complain about a head coach when his defense is holding up. And they had 3 starters out in the secondary last night. Still held the Saints to 16 points. That should win you a football game. The problem is, and let's be honest here, when we talk about this, Tom Brady's not playing well. And again, he's starting to show his age. And I said this, and I tried to say it last week. I don't know if we even got it in. But I said, when a quarterback goes south, he goes south in a hurry. When a 45-year-old quarterback goes south, we have no data to actually say, okay, here's what's happening, because it's never happened before. But I'll tell you what, he doesn't look comfortable in the pocket. And again, he's got 4 different offensive linemen in there from last year. I understand that. but he's missing passes. And it's just 12's got to play better. If not, those Bucks are a one and done when they get to the playoffs.
Hang on a minute, Leo. Smokin' Jim, do you have any questions for Leo Haggerty? Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, I was just asking if you had any questions for him. That's all. So, okay. Anyway, Leo, another reason I wanted to talk tonight and have you on was talk about this college football. The bowl games have been set, and I want your thoughts on the South Florida job. Which of course, they hired a new coach, and some of the other jobs in the Florida area. What's your thoughts on South Florida's hire and some of the other hires?
Well, it's really tough at South Florida right now. And yeah, they're 1-11. They've had 3 bad seasons in a row. Biggest problem is when you go to the stadium, here's a guy coming from Tennessee, Golish, where a bad crowd is 100,000 people. He's going to see crowds of like 10 or 15,000 at a stadium that seats close to 70. And again, they got to figure out, the U.S. administration, they got to figure out how to get people in the stadium. Now, I guess, if you win, they will come. But when they won, they didn't come. And that's
right.
Really a problem here, is that they're trying to play Division I with a Division III attendance. And that's costing them money. They got to be bleeding money. But I like the hire because he's coming in with a ultra tempo offense, which is what needs to happen right now. You need to play fast. And at Tennessee, boy, they played at Oregon speed, so to speak, when Chip Kelly was there.
Right. Well, you know what? Tennessee played Pitt this year. They had to beat us in overtime. If it wasn't for some numbskull mistakes from Pitt, I think they would have beat. So we're having that problem here with the Pitt Panthers. We drew for the West Virginia game. We drew for a few other games. The Duke game, they had 10,000 people.
Oh, no.
We have the same problem here. We play in an Acrisure stadium, and so it's the same thing here as it is in South Florida, and we have trouble recruiting and keeping recruits here because of it.
Well, I'll tell you what, right now with the portal, with the portal right now, it's just, now you not only have to recruit your player, you got to keep them. And that's the biggest problem right now. And I'll tell you what, 2 things. One, I'm a big proponent of, if you don't play on Championship Saturday, you don't belong in the college football playoffs. I said, I came out on Facebook and Twitter and all that. I said, look, I don't care what Georgia, Michigan, and TCU do. They're in, because they right now have a 0 on the right side of the dash. No one else has that but a 1. If USC won, they're getting in before Ohio State, because they'd have the same record and they have a conference championship.
Okay, it seems we've lost the link up here with Leo. Well, Smokin' Jim, what's your thoughts on this, listening to what Leo had to say? Oh, I don't know. Okay, hang on a minute.
That is just stupid, fiery money. They are not hurting for bucks. And you know what? I would not be surprised to see a plethora of players opt out of that college football playoff. Could you imagine if Tulane drew Michigan in the first game? Well, if I'm a Tulane player and I'm going to the NFL, hey, look, we ain't winning this game, and I'm not getting hurt. There's a way around that route. The NCAA should ensure any player that an NFL team thinks is a first, second, or third round player, they should insure them. That would be simple. And again, you got so much money. If you allocated 10% of the revenue to pay the players, that's billions of dollars. You can do that for 5 years, and that's just 1 year. The NCAA is greedy, and My guy John Lentz came on one time, and I'll never forget this. He comes on and says the three most corrupt organizations in the United States are the mafia, the IRS, and the NCAA, and not necessarily in that order.
Yeah, I'm starting up a broadcast channel with a friend of mine, and we're talking tonight. And he and the person that led the meeting, who happens to be my good friend Claudio Rosano, he said that the one thing that everybody likes is the green, and that's the money. And now NCAA has gotten so far out of hand that college sports anymore is not enjoyable, at least football and basketball, because they're too busy with this money and this handouts. And then, they go after these coaches for recruiting violations, but then in the meantime, they have the transfer portal, which is killing everybody. So, what do you think about that, Leo?
Oh, it's transfer portal is terrible. There's guys in there already. And again, you recruit a guy and he doesn't play as a freshman, he's going in the portal. And it's crazy. Ralph, it's the old NCAA's fault, because when the O'Bannon decision came down, somebody in that office should have said, hey, look, they're going to allow these kids to transfer and they're going to allow these kids to make money. What are we going to do about it? The fact that the NCAA punches pilot it and washed their hands of it, that was a huge mistake, because they thought the federal government or the state governments would take control of it. Well, guess what? They didn't. And some of the states now are taking a look at this portal money and saying, hey, that should be taxed. So it's kind of crazy how this is playing out.
Oh, I know. It's really playing out. It's backfiring in some cases, but in others, it's working for some other teams. Leo, what's your thoughts on this playoff this year? You have Ohio State, you have Michigan, TCU, and then you have USC. What is your thoughts on all that? On those guys? Or I'm sorry, yeah, I think I mentioned Michigan. Yeah,
Georgia. Yeah, Georgia. Georgia's going to be tough to beat in that first round, because they're playing in Atlanta at the Peach Bowl. I think they played 3 games there already this year. So again, that's going to be a problem. Ohio State, that's a good matchup for them. And again, they better not give up 30 points on Ohio State, because Ohio State will keep you out of the end zone. But again, Michigan's old school. They want to run it down your throat. And TCU can score. So it's going to be interesting to see how these play out. I wouldn't be surprised to see the chalk go both ways, Georgia and Michigan, and then have a rematch of last year's semifinal there. But I'll tell you what, they got the first 3 right. The fourth, I don't think they had a choice after all the craziness that happened on Championship Saturday. But again, it's 4 good teams. And again, Ralph, I'm going to give you a suggestion. The Pac-12 and the Big 12 got rid of divisions. They're just playing the top 2 teams. The Big 10 and the SEC needs to get away from that. They just need to take the top 2 teams. Could you imagine if Georgia and Alabama played again, or Michigan and Ohio State played again? That's what you want. You want the top 2. This way you can move that Michigan-Ohio State game to probably the middle of the year. You're going to play you're going to play 7 different teams, and the 8th one is going to be the same one every year. Well, Ohio State and Michigan play every year. Don't tell me this can't be done. But, the Pac-12 and the Big 12 have figured it out. Look for the other divisions to start figuring it out, too.
Okay, real quick here. Tampa Bay Rays are supposedly getting a new stadium. A drawing today of some, they're talking about a dome or retractable roof or whatever, and it's going to be in St. Pete. Is that the case down there in Tampa about the Rays? What's going on with that?
I don't think that's a done deal right now. And I'll tell you what, Ralph, the biggest problem right now is the Rays have no spring training site. It's just coming out now that their spring training site in Charlotte County has been decimated by the hurricane. They're not going to be able to use it at all. they're trying to figure out where they can go. They're going to try to go over the wide world of sports where the Braves used to be, but there's thought they may have to do it at Tropicana Field. The only problem there is you got one field. It's not like you got 6 or 7 fields that you can, practice your entire, organization on. It's going to be tough. So they're still up in the air with that. The stadium issue has been pushed on the back burner until they can figure out where they're going for spring training in February.
I see. Yeah, because I heard about that as well. But then the practice facility being down, something that's small little towns that have those facilities, like we have Bradenton, Florida. That's their Super Bowl. That's where they draw a lot of people to come and check out teams that they don't see. Like Bradenton, Florida, they don't see Yankees versus the Pirates. That's their opportunity. So what I'm, I believe the training facility was in Fort Myers. If that's the case, then Fort Myers is going to lose all kinds of money because of that.
Yeah, it was. We got hit hard on that, on the Gulf Coast. And I tell you what, Ralph, let me put in a word of praise for Keyman Choi that you got. You are going to love this guy because all he does is show up every night and play hard. You're going to love him in Pittsburgh.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask you about him.
Yeah, he's.
Oh, good. We need that.
He got into a little slump.
We need a good first baseman. We need
no. Yes, he's not going to hit you 40 home runs. He's going to get you maybe 10 or 15, but he's going to put the ball in play. That's the big thing.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, we also signed Carlos Santana as well as a first baseman. We've got about 3 that we just signed recently. Today we signed a few guys, and I'm a little frustrated with our GM Ben Sherrington because he kind of lied to everybody. He said he wasn't going to sign any veteran free agents, and he was going to sign them to more than 1-year contracts. He signed 2 today, and he gave 1-year contracts, and I think everybody else got the same thing. So I'm not real satisfied right now with the Pirates because I thought when they hired Ben Sherrington and Travis Williams that they were going to start, not lying to the public or to the fans and start doing some different things. And now it's back to the same old drawing board with them. They lied to the fans and whatnot, and so it's the same old Pirates.
Yeah, the only good news is your Steelers are starting to play well.
Yeah, we're getting ready to talk about them real soon too. As soon as we're done with the interview, I had another guest on today. BELISERI. He covers New England Patriots, but he had a family emergency. He couldn't be on tonight. So, but Leo, I thank you for being on tonight, and it's great talking with you again. I'm praying that you feel better. And Smokin Jim, you have anything to say?
No, hey, I enjoyed the interview, man.
All right, thank you. Leo, have a great one. Thank you for being on. Talk again. Thank you.
Any night you need me,
have
Ralph,
a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yes, you too. Happy holidays. Take care.
All right, thanks, Leo. Leo Haggerty. You too. That was Leo Haggerty from Tampa, Florida. Good friend of mine. Always a pleasure to have him on the show. He brings real good incentive about what's going on down in Tampa with the Bucks and with the Rays and the college football situation as well. A little something different around here on Sports Corner. That's what I like about this show. We always come up with some different ideas and some different people to give different opinions. All right, Smokin Jim, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on tonight. And what do you want to get started with? Because I tell you what, Smokin Jim, as always, you know me, I got a smorgasbord of stuff to talk about. And I also want to let everybody know tonight we're on Twitter. We've added Twitter to our platform and platforms, and now we're on 4 platforms now, Smokin Jim. And also, don't forget, we can talk about Pitt. Keaton Slovis went to the transfer portal, and now we're getting Phil Dracovic. What's your thoughts on that, Smokin Jim? What do you think about this transfer portal with Pitt and this Keaton Slovis? I don't know why he's leaving after 1 season. I guess maybe he didn't like what was going on, and some of the players are calling him out on Twitter. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's a good move. Phil was a parade All-American quarterback out of Pine Ridgeland. He was supposed to be a great, great, great college quarterback. Things didn't work out with him at Notre Dame, but he did have one very good year at Boston College. And his offensive coordinator here was Frank Signetti.
Right.
Now he's going to reunite with Frank Signetti. So, and he's coming home. So I think it's a great move for both quarterbacks. Phil steps right in the pit, and who knows, he may be an NFL player after one season in the pit.
Yeah, that could happen as well. But Pitt's working on some other transfers here. There's a bunch of receivers out there. They need to get a couple guys in here, to catch the ball. I'm not putting no knock on, we're going to lose Jarrett Wayne, I believe. I'm not sure. I think he's done, or he may have one more season left. I'm not sure what he's going to do. We're going to lose some wide receivers. We need to look at some linebackers. We don't have no depth behind some of the linebackers they have. And also we need to take a look at they're looking at bringing a running back in from somewhere. Pitt's got a lot of guys and a big smorgasbord full of guys that they can get from the transfer portal to rebuild some things. The whole offensive line is practically starting offensive line is really going to have to be rebuilt, Smokin' Jim, because they were all 5th and 6th year seniors, and the whole line is just basically that. And I think they're going to have to really do that as well. What's your thoughts on Pitt? Do you think they can rebuild with this transfer portal? They lost a few players, and their recruiting class coming up, they had to redo all that because they lost some recruits. What do you think they're going to be able to do?
Well, that's what it's there for. So there's opportunities now. I think people completely forgot about the junior college football. I've always been very high on junior college football. I think it's a place that a lot of people don't recruit. So I think Pitt can get some good players in the portal, and they can get some very good players from junior college football too.
Do you think Pitt's trying to stack up too many positions and these kids get discouraged and leave? Or do you think it's just a normal what's going on right now?
It's just normal what's going on. I mean, Pitt has their philosophy, and a lot of it is flawed because it's not taken in consideration what this generation of athletes are looking for. So that's always going to be a problem. They're always going to lose some very good players, but all in all, I think they're not doing a bad job.
Right. Okay. They're playing in the Sun Bowl versus UCLA. Chip Kelly. What's your thoughts on this bowl matchup? Now we don't have Keaton Slovis. We have to use Nick Patty. Nick Patty, if he plays anywhere like he did in the first 2 possessions last year against Michigan State, we shouldn't have any problems. What do you think about this?
How do you do in the 3rd possession? That's what you got to worry about. And the team speed of UCLA is just incredible. They should run Pitt off the field pretty easily. It's really a bad matchup for Pitt, but Pitt's going to make some. Looks like it's a decent paying bowl, so they may make a couple of dollars. But I look for UCLA to win that one. Yeah,
it looks to me the same way. People talked about Chip Kelly when he was in the NFL, how he stunk. And then they talked about, how he went to UCLA. And then for a couple of years, that happens every time when you're a new coach in a new program. But, they talked about how bad UCLA was for a little while. And then now all of a sudden they're as good as gold. But anyway, another thing I wanted to bring up here is Pat Narduzzi's bowl record is horrible. He's only won 1 bowl game in the 8 years he's been at Pitt. And I don't know if he's going to win this one. If I'm the administration and I'm the student body and I'm the alumni at Pitt and I'm looking at the attendance record and I'm looking at some of the stuff that's been going on with Narduzzi, with some of the screw ups, losing games you're supposed to win and things like that. Do you think that that's something that they need to look at? And I don't think they're going to because they have a weak administration right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, I guarantee if somebody like Deion Sanders would be the head coach of Pitt, he would sell out the stadium every game. You have to work on whether it's social media, whether it's with the athletic department, whether it's with the PR department, whoever, you got to have some excitement about football. This is a football town, and for Pitt to really have no fanfare after all these years of Narduzzi being the head coach, I think that, for me, is a reason for a change.
Oh, absolutely. Remember when Dave Wannstedt came to Pitt? I mean, they drew at Acrisure Stadium with Walt Harris, but as soon as Dave Wannstedt showed up, they were starting to sell some games. They were starting to draw some fans. People were starting to get excited. Everybody loved Dave Wannstedt because he was a Pitt guy. He could push the program. The only problem with Dave Wannstedt is his coaching. When he was a head coach, he had this bad habit of shoving a square peg into a round hole, and he was doing that for years. And, when he lost that game to Cincinnati and Brian Kelly, when we were the superior team, to go to the Big East, in the Big East championship game, we could have went to a bigger bowl. We ended up in the Continental Tire Bowl. So what I'm saying is too much of that is going on in Pitt, and I call it the Jackie Sherrill curse, and you call the Steelers the Santonio Holmes curse, and we call the Penguins the Flory curse, and then what do we got for the Pirates? The Sid Bream curse. We got them down, man. Yeah, we got them down. Hey, I got to tell you what, people don't believe. There's a lot of people out there don't believe in that, man. But from what I just jargoned off, you need to start believing in it, because that's going to be a situation, man. We're down the road. That's what it's looking like,
Hey, here's one I never told you about, man, and it's on record. And I took a lot of heat when Andrew McCutcheon, who was one of the best players in baseball, not the best player in baseball at the time, he cut off his dreadlocks to donate them to an organization. And I said right then, man, that's bamboo, man. He's not going to be the same player, and he has yet to be the same player since it's like Hercules cutting off his ear. Man.
Yeah.
And, I remember Chip Hainer got mad because he's a baseball guy. How can you say something like that? Blah blah blah. Well, the proof is Andrew's been going downhill ever since he cut off his dreadlocks.
You know what, Smokin' Jim? You can't say nothing bad about the Pirates and Chip Hainer, regardless of what they do, because Chip loves them. I mean, it's like you just can't say anything bad. Speaking of the Pirates, before we get into the Steelers, they signed some free agents today. Vinny Vasquez, a pitcher. They signed Jarlin Garcia. They also signed Carlos Santana, the first baseman we talked about last week when we had some equipment problems and we had to shut things down. And the Brian Reynolds situation here. Smokin' Jim, I'm not real pleased right now with the Pirates. I have a little situation with Ben Cherington. I'm very disappointed in him because I thought he was the guy that was going to straighten up this whole organization of the Bob Nutting disease. And turns out that he's just like Bob Nutting. He's starting to lie to everybody. Last week, he came on, he had a press conference right before the hot stove luncheon and before the winter meetings. And he said, and I quote, "We are going to sign veteran free agents this year to more than 1-year contracts because we realize that we need these guys here for leadership." Okay, so here we are. They signed 3 guys today, or they signed 3 guys. They signed a catcher at this late hour, and I didn't get his name. They signed a catcher as well. All 3 of the guys they signed today, Smokin' Jim, guess what?
What's that?
They all got 1-year contracts.
Wow.
So Ben Cherington is now starting to play the Bob Nutting game with the fans. And here's the interesting part about this. It really makes me angry. The fans go with this. They're happy with this. I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be happy at all with this, none whatsoever. Because how can you justify a guy who we all thought, was in the Boston Red Sox organization, Ben Cherington? He was one of the great GMs. He's one of the great GMs in baseball. and the Pirates hired him, and he comes out and he lies to the fans and he lies to the public and comes out and says, "Oh, we're not going to sign none of these players to any one-year contract. We need leader. We found out last year that we need leadership." No kidding. I know you need leadership. That is wrong. Signing them to one-year contracts. What do you think he just did here? I mean, so I know he signed that Choi guy. I think he got 2 years. But what I'm saying to you is, when you say you're going to do something, you can't deceive the public and the fans and lie to the people who are loyal to the team. And I know there's the select few, like the Chip Hayners of the world and some of these other people that totally believe that PNC Park is the greatest ballpark to watch a baseball game. And it is. But who wants to go and see a sad team? That's the whole problem. Okay? And I've said this many times, Smokin' Jim, I'll never, ever pay for another ticket until this team starts winning. All right? I'll never buy another ticket, ever, to a Pirate game until this team starts winning or they sell it away from Bob Nutting. It's terrible. And, and I really thought I had a little inch of my imagination, Smokin' Jim, that Ben Cherington and Travis Williams were going to fix this Bob Nutting disease, and they haven't. They've done the same thing, but Bob Nutting lies too. He comes every year. He's at spring training, except for this year. Or last year's spring training. He wasn't there for that. In fact, I heard he hardly ever showed his face. All right, he was there, and then what he did was he goes ahead and he goes every year. He used to say, "We're going to win a championship." With what? What are you going to win a championship with? Do you see what I'm saying? So that is lying based on what the talent that you have on the field. What do you think about this, Smokin' Jim?
Hey, man, you laid it out perfectly, man. I agree with everything except for, not going to a Pirate game until they start winning.
I wouldn't pay. No, I didn't say I wouldn't go. I'm not paying for a ticket.
Well,
I
tell you what, I hope it's a long time before you pay for a ticket, because I make money on the Pirates betting against them.
Yeah, that's true. I understand. What's your thoughts on this Brian Reynolds situation?
Well, I really don't. I'm not. I don't think they're going to trade him, at least not in the off season. Maybe there might be more value as the season goes on. Maybe some teams that's pushing for a pennant or something like that will want to overpay the Pirates for a player. But I know he's disgruntled right now, and I don't blame him. But I really don't see Pittsburgh Pirates trading him anytime soon.
Well, I will tell you this much: free agent market, 2 Pirates that I know of were out there, Josh Bell and Tyler Anderson got signed. He was a pitcher of ours a few years back, and almost won the Cy Young with the Dodgers last year until he got hurt. He's an injury-prone pitcher. He's been around a long time, Tyler Anderson, but he just got signed today by somebody. And I got to tell you, Josh Bell got signed by the Cleveland Guardians today.
Wow!
And he got paid pretty handsome too. I think it was 3 years, $70 million or something like that. I mean, you used to see these contracts. It's amazing what's out there. Whatever the Pirates were going to try to pay Brian Reynolds is peanuts compared to what some of these teams are paying some of these guys. And so, but and then also Andrew McCutchen's still sitting out there. If I'm the Pirates, I'd bring him in for maybe, and again, they're going to lie. They're going to bring him in for a year, and then, he'll retire here or something maybe. I don't know. I'd bring him back. I would, for leadership capabilities, even though he might not have the greatest seasons in the world. That's the one thing the Pirates did lack last year was veteran leadership, and there's not a lot of it there, and that's their own fault for it. And they came out and admitted they need to get some this year, and everything else. All right, let's get to the Steelers here. The record's 5-7. They beat Atlanta 19-16. Once again, it's better to be lucky than good sometimes. They got a little bit lucky that Arthur Smith with bad clock management. He had Jeff Saturday disease on Sunday. What's your thoughts on this?
What you kind of breaking up,
Oh, I said, what's your thoughts on the Steelers in this game against Atlanta on Sunday? Arthur Smith, the head coach of Atlanta, seems to have Jeff Saturday disease. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I tell you what, Atlanta really had the Steelers back on their heels when they were running the football, but the head coach wouldn't continue to run the ball until late, and they almost pulled out a victory. But I thought the running game was going well, but they kept trying to throw, with an over the hill quarterback and Matt Ryan. And like you always say, it's better to be lucky than good. Steelers pulled a victory from the miss of defeat.
Yeah, it seems like the Steelers this year are doing. Remember the one year, and it was the year I believe, the one year they kept pulling all these victories up by 3 or 4 points a game, and then we got to the playoffs against the Jets, and we had to beat them in overtime. And Herm Edwards was the coach. I'm trying to remember what year that was, but anyway, and then we go to play that was the year we were 15-1. We go to play New England. We beat the Jets in overtime. We blew New England out in the regular season. Most of our games that we did win, some of them were by 3 or 4 points per the game. Then we get to New England, and we end up getting blown out by them. So the Steelers seem to have that kind of a way of winning. I mean, I know it's winning games, but sometimes I've always said this too, Smokin' Jim, it's going to bite you in the butt. I think sooner or later it's going to bite the Steelers in the butt. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. You got a quarterback that's only put up, I believe, 4 touchdowns all year. There's so many areas the Steelers need to work on, and the schedule is really rather easy right now. So they can, on paper, they can stockpile some wins, and it's really the only thing it's going to do is hurt their drafting position.
Yeah, well, Mike Tomlin's too proud. He wants to keep that record up of having a winning record every year and screwing around in the first round of playoffs and getting blown out 40-0. So that's Mike Tomlin's thing. All right, it was great to see Connor Hayward get his first touchdown catch. I know what your thoughts are on the Hayward family, but it was nice to see for the sake of the fact that their dad played in the same stadium all those years with Atlanta, and so it was nice to see the Haywards have a great day. Both Cam and Connor. Cam was in on a sack and some other stuff. It was great to see that as well. But what do you think about the offense here? I know he's throwing a lot. Pickett's been throwing a lot to Firemouth. Deontay Johnson, I know they're trying to push the ball to him, but as Luther would call him, what is it, Deontay Dropson? You know what I mean? So I love that, man. He said that on Sunday. I laughed so hard. You know what, Smokin' Jim? We should be lucky I wasn't driving when I was listening to that, because I probably would have wrecked. I laughed so hard. I couldn't. I was in tears and laughter because I never heard something like that before. Deontay Dropson. What is your thoughts on this? Do you think that they should have spread the ball? They should continue. Derek Watt, they spread the ball around a little bit, hand it off to him, pass to him a little bit. They're starting to get the ball spread out a little bit more. George Pickens was a little unhappy. What do you think?
Well, again, the Pittsburgh Steelers had a team full of divas. They got rid of the wrong guy. They should have got rid of Deontay Johnson. They didn't do that. They got rid of Claypool. Now Johnson is frustrated. He cried all week that he should be getting the football, so they were trying to force it to him, and he had a number of drops. And now you got George Pickens that's cussing and swearing and cussing out coaches and everything else. Anybody can read lips and hears what he's saying.
Start acting like Antonio Brown.
Man, so, and it all goes to off the team. Got to get the cancer out of the locker room, and you got to replace it with, the best possible people. George Pickens would be sitting the bench if I was coach, at least for a game, cussing out a coach like that.
Yeah, that was frustrating. That's what happens when you only throw to one guy. But then again, too, Deontay Johnson's had many opportunities with the ball, and he keeps dropping them. And then here's a guy that's our numbers guru there, Omar Khan, decided to give him $18 million. I said to myself, "Are you joking here?" You know what I mean? I mean, what do we see in this? I just don't get it. And I understand that they're trying to keep core players there, but Deontay Johnson's the kind of guy you don't keep around that's going to be a locker room cancer. And on top of that, his work ethic. Remember, he didn't go down to Florida for Trubisky's little summit down there. He was still fighting with the Steelers over a contract. So, right there tells me he has a bad attitude. Like, look, we got a new quarterback coming in. You need to come down to this summit or this little thing, practice or whatever that Trubisky had down at his house. And, you need to come. When he didn't do that, I said to myself, you know what? Right there is an example. And then he gets on TV and he tries to act like a team player. Do you ever see his interviews? He gets on there and he goes, "Oh, well, we did mess up. I should have did this." And he tries to win over the fans with some of his BS. And then but his performance on the field, based on what he says, doesn't seem to work that way. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I agree with you 100%. It's sad, but I don't know how we're seeing it, and the Steelers don't appear to be seeing it the same way we are.
Exactly. The Ravens, we play them at Acrisure Stadium this Sunday, 1 o'clock. What do you think? How do you think we're going to be able to play the Ravens? No Lamar Jackson. We've been the Lamar Jackson killer. We've won games. We've sacked him a lot. We've rattled his cage. But now we got this other guy playing here. And off the top of my head, I know his first name's Tyler. Can't remember his last name off the top of my head right now. But anyway, he, he's a second string quarterback. He's played against us before. And he's had some good times or some good playing against us. What are you going to do this week against the Ravens? Do you think they'll be able to do anything? Do you think they'll be able to at least win one of the two against the Ravens, at least split the division if they can beat Cleveland because they lost 2 to Cincinnati, lose 1 to Baltimore, and then you have they lost that 1 to Cleveland. So they would have to, in order to split 3-3 in the division, they would have to beat Baltimore twice in Cleveland. Do you think they have an opportunity to do that?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I mean, they got to play Huntley. They got a little film on him.
Yeah, Tyler Huntley. That's his name. Yeah.
And they always, no matter what the records are, the Ravens-Steelers games are always close.
Oh, yeah.
So they have a possibility of pulling that one out for sure.
Yeah, well, we're the king of the close games, it looks like. So, anyway, Matthew Wright, 4 field goals. Presley Harvin, I like that punt. He finally learned how to punt. He put the punt right down there on the 2-yard line. That was great. Now we pinned Atlanta. We need to continue to do more of that. They were able to contain that kick returner for Atlanta. They were able to keep him at bay, which was good. I thought it was an overall average performance, but they were able to get through it. Again, the middle linebacking situation here, Miles Jack's not doing it for me. And Evan Bush, the situation with him. I'm not going to go no further with him. And then Spillane played this week, but he was kind of averaging in there. What do you what's your thinking on that? Are you there?
You still there, Ralph?
Yeah, I'm still here, Smoking Jim. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason, maybe I'm in a bad location, but you're breaking up again.
Oh, okay. I don't know why, but
Sorry about that.
that's okay. But as I was saying before, or I just got done saying, what's your thoughts on the inside linebacking crew? Miles Jack, that Malik Reed is hurt, and they have Devin Bush there. We all know about him, and Robert Spillane. What's your thoughts on what's going on with the inside linebacking position?
They got to find a way to get rid of Bush in the off season. I mean, you cannot afford the kind of money that comes with a first round draft choice in that option year. You gotta cut bait with him, and you gotta go out, and if you're going to shore up your defense, you gotta find a linebacking stud out there in college football and select him. I think that Miles Jack has been, very solid when he's healthy. Robert Spillane's going to give you everything. He got special teams here and there. He's just a limited talent.
Right.
But they need a young stud in the middle and get rid of the dead weight, which is Devin Bush.
I said this many times, and I think I've repeated my sentiment on this. Tomlin has this love for certain bums. Do you ever notice that? I mean, there's like certain players that are bums. I mean, but he loves them. I just don't get this. And, I don't know if it's something that maybe they go over his house and mow his lawn or something. I don't know. They must do something, you know what I mean, or wash his windows or wash his car or like Richard Pryor once said, I'll pet your cat. You know what I mean? Or something, but you don't expect me to drive a bunch of funky kids across country, so, but, yeah. So, yeah, my Tomlin quotes for the show are, we will play with who is available, because as usual, you get these dumb reporters and that one Pryor woman again, on and on. I got nothing against women reporters. She just constantly Smokin Jim asks these ridiculous questions, and Tomlin just looks at her like, why are you asking me this? Well, what do you think she said? Is so-and-so going to play? And when he said, we will play with who is available. And he says, I say that, and then he keeps telling her, I say this every week because you ask me the same question every week. And then he says, I have never kicked the ball, but I am responsible for it. But somebody asked him about Matthew Wright. They said, what's your thoughts on him kicking? You see that kind of thing. And then he said, I have never kicked the ball, but I am responsible for it. The best one was when they asked him a question about T.J. Watt today, and he said, how many times have I told you I'm a football coach, not a doctor? I don't know. And that was when he was hurt. And here we go. We're growing as a football team. Oh, really? Okay. So there we go there. And then I don't worry about other seasons. I'm worried about this season. Somebody had brought up about how things that happened in other seasons that were positive. And do you think that what's going on this season is positive, growing and all that? And he said, I don't worry about other seasons. I just worry about this season. So, and then of course he had his little arrogant attitude like he always does about how he, I only worry about one game at a time and, and all that, I didn't hear participation will be our guide. I didn't hear that too much today. So, but anyway, let's get started here. We got some NFL, let's get into the Penguins just a tad here. Chris Letang had a stroke. I hear he's coming along pretty good. He's working at it. The Penguins are still winning games without him. I think they're starting to pick up their game a little bit, but let's just hope that they don't get worn out by the end of the season. I watched, there was this week, 2 games, KCT Smith was the goalie, and I'm still not sold on him. The only reason the Penguins signed him again was because he was economical. Like Mel Kiper would say, the Steelers went the economical way. So the Penguins went the economical way on D. Smith. I didn't like what he did last year in the playoffs when he got out of the game. He didn't play through some things, and he asked to be taken out of the game. And, I wasn't sold on that either. But, I think the Penguins are doing pretty well as of right now. They're starting to play catch up from the 7 games they lost. They have to keep the winning streak going. They can't just win 1 or 2 games and then lose 5. What's your thoughts on Letang and his stroke situation in this team as a whole?
Well, I tell you what, Letang got a beautiful wife.
Oh my God!
Man, that's a serious thing. 2 strokes in his career. Who knows if he can come back from this one? But if the doctors clear him and he wants to come back, and it sounds like he does want to come back, I would play him.
Well, there you go. I think that that's the situation as well. I don't know. I mean, I know he wants to come back. He's been in the league 17 years. He's played with the Penguins all that time. And, it was nice to bring the gang back together. But we've had this discussion many times. But it seems like some younger guys are starting to now step up. You got Kasperi and Kaprizin finally stepping to the plate after he was a healthy scratch for a while. I guess Mike Sullivan was trying to light a fire under his butt by saying, hey, look, if you don't practice and play well, then I'm just going to put you as a healthy scratch. Well, according to what I hear, that healthy scratch did him some justice because now he's starting to come around. And a lot of us want to run him out of town, including myself, because he hasn't done anything in the 2 years he's been here. So, and we gave up a number 1 draft pick. That was one of Rutherford's trades. He gave up a number 1 draft pick for him. And, the Penguins have not stockpiled. They need to rebuild their minor league system. They gave away too many draft picks over the years with Rutherford. We have no farm system to really work with. And I think now the Penguins are going to have to start doing that. Ron Hextall's walking on eggshells right now. So is Brian Burke. Fenway's got everybody on probation. What do you think about this? Are you there, Smokin' Jim? Hello.
I'll tell you what, I moved to another area.
Okay, I can hear you now.
I just can't hear you, bro. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Now, well, I had talked about what your thoughts were on the Penguins as a whole, Ron Hextall and all of that, depleting their draft system or their draft picks by trading them all off. I think they need to start getting us this minor league system back up and going. They need to start getting some draft picks in here, younger guys, and start building because the old boys gang here is not getting any younger. They're getting older. What do you think?
Well, I tell you what, there's a clip out there on YouTube somewhere where Chris Letang's 4-year-old son is sitting on his lap, and he says he wants to play in the NHL with his dad and Crosby. The way the Penguins are going, that'll happen.
That just could happen. You're right. I would have loved to have seen Lemieux's son play with Mario, but that don't look like it's going to happen. I know his son, I think, is in one of the minor league systems here, but I haven't heard much of him. Yeah, I haven't heard too much of him over the years. I don't know what's going on with his son these days. So but anyway.
But hey, listen, I'm just looking forward for this season. The ownership gave the fans what they wanted. They kept the big 3 together. Right now, you just got the big 2, and I'm just a little disappointed that so far there's been a number of empty seats, at the arena. I don't know what more they want. You know what I mean? You got the star power there. That the ownership put money into the team.
Right.
And the fans got to really quit being spoiled and come on out and support.
Well, I'm going to say this, Smokin' Jim. I was watching a program on Sunday night, it's on Channel 11, and you and I still haven't been invited on the Final Word. Okay. I was watching the Final Word, and a guy named Dan Konjerski came on, and he said the same thing you just said. He said, what's going on with this this Penguin fan base? Well, first of all, Dan, I want to tell you this, okay? don't sit there and get angry at people for not showing up at a game when you get in for free. Okay. I don't, you know me, Smoking Jim. I can't stand when people do that, especially these media types. And I know you and I are in the media, but we don't get that privilege to go to those games for free over there. So anyway, even if I did, I wouldn't get on there and criticize people for not coming to the game because I understand what it is. I was a paying customer at one time or whatever. I can't afford to go to the game because of the price. And that's one story. Okay. Secondly, a lot of times I try to go to these games and they don't have any handicap of seating available. So that's another story. But you know what? I don't broadcast that stuff. But Dan made a cardinal mistake again on Sunday, going on and on about fans. You know what? You get in for free, Dan. Don't talk about people spending money when you eat for free and there they park your car. I said, whatever it is that they do that you get for all these free perks to go to these games, you know what I mean? So don't sit there and get on somebody for not spending money to go to a game. Okay? I just don't, I can't stand media that does that because that makes me angry because I have to pay to get in. Okay? And I can't really afford to pay for Penguin tickets. So I'm one of the 2,000 or 3,000 empty seaters that aren't there. Do you see what I'm getting at? And that's exactly what I think. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think that he kind of overstepped his bounds a little bit by saying that?
Well, I think there's a thing called humility, and some of these local guys really need to learn it because they don't seem to like it when the national guys boast about what their perks that they get.
Right.
They travel and they get all the big games and
right.
be at all the big events. You know what I mean? So I think there should be some humbling, and these guys will get humbled because pretty soon you're not going to have a competing team in football or a competing team in hockey, and they're going to be just like the Pirates are in baseball, and these guys are going to hold their nose going to the games. They're not going to want to go because I don't really believe a lot of them are really true diehard lovers of sports. I think that they're doing it. It's a job. And you can tell by some of the commentaries that they're not really paying attention or going back and watching the game a couple of times to make sure that they're studying the way they should. So I don't like when people try to flaunt it. I mean, hey, there's a lot of people doing real bad here that still go out every once or twice a year, and that's all they can afford to do. The prices is just outrageous.
Yeah, exactly.
And
right.
You can't take a family to these games anymore. Like you said, parking alone.
Parking, the food expense, and alone, and then souvenirs. Little Johnny, little Mikey, little Susie, they all want souvenirs. The souvenirs are not cheap. I mean, it's really awful anymore to even go to an event. I've said this many times. I got to take a loan. I mean, it's simple. I mean, it's not, and then if you drive, you come in like from where you live on the east, way out deep in the east, and you got to use the Parkway East. My old friend Neil Spence, the old traffic reporter here, used to call it the parking lot east. So, but when you have to use the parking lot east to get into the city, all the time and whatnot, the traffic and that's one of the reasons, Smoking Jim, I don't go to Starlight Amphitheater. It takes forever to get out of the place, and then by the time you get home, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then it takes forever to get out. There's traffic getting out of the place, and then there's traffic going home on the Parkway. You got to go back ways, you got to maneuver. Fortunately for me, I know how to do that, but there's a lot of people that don't. And then it's just nowadays it's tough to go to anything like that, and when you have to spend a ton of money. I spent all that money in May of this year when my mom and I and my wife went to the Pirate game, and the food was bad, nasty, And I went to the manager and I said, look, this food is bad for what I paid for it. Well, he gave me 3 bottles of soda for that, but that's fine, considering the fact I spent about $70 on food. So, but yeah. So, but anyway, Westinghouse, they moved on. They beat Farrell. They're moving on to play Central Columbia. What's your thoughts on this game, Smoke and Jim? I think Westinghouse can pull it off, but Central Columbia is a tough team. They always have been. What's your thoughts on this?
With Southern Columbia.
Or Southern, I'm sorry. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got them mixed up with that Central Clarion team. So yeah, Southern Columbia, I meant to say. Yeah, sorry. But
they're a powerhouse. Early in the season, they had like 3 losses. So I don't know if they was playing way up or they just gelled towards the end of the season. But from mid-season on, they pretty much blew everybody out. It should be a great game. This is a great opportunity. Westinghouse just got to win one more game to make history. It's only
absolutely.
been one city league team, the 89 Perry High School
right, Perry, yep.
Won the state championship. So Westinghouse has an opportunity now, and I would make them the favorite going in. So they just got to stay focused, and it's a Friday afternoon game. So let's make it happen. I think Gallup-Whipple plays on Thursday.
Right.
And
right.
Westinghouse plays on Friday. So
yeah, I wish all the area teams the best of luck this year and winning their games. I hope they take in their state titles in their divisions or their conferences or whatever they call it in high school football these days. I hope they do that as well. Smoke and Jim, I wanted to talk a little bit about and get your thoughts on some of the coaching changes in college football. What are your thoughts on some of them? What do you think, moving on? I know the one, Steve Satterfield, who's the head coach at Louisville, didn't make any friends fast with his team. He decided to take the Cincinnati job, didn't tell anybody. And that's one thing, if you want to get on a bad side of somebody, is just do something like that to somebody. And that's what he did to his players. What do you think about this? The new coaches that were hired at some of these universities this year.
Well, I think a great guy in the coaching field is Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
I didn't like how it happened. I didn't like him leaving Jackson State after just 2 seasons. But I think Colorado really got a great coach. Deion's just he got the charisma. His work ethic is very underrated. He knows how to put his staff together, and there's superstars and then there's superstars. Deion's one of those superstars that can walk in any CEO of any company in the country, and they will listen and maybe cut a check where a lot of other people need an appointment and still may not get in. So he has that type of thing, and he connects well with young people. I just thought that the way he left Jackson State after them giving him an opportunity, an opportunity that's never coached in college or professional football, and then you leave in 2 years. I didn't like that. That left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm just a loyal guy.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, so am I. I mean, if I tell you, hey, Smoke and Jim, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, we're going to do it. And I don't pull no punches. I don't play no games. But people like Steve Satterfield, who's been with Louisville now for a few years, decided to just go to Cincinnati and not even tell his players. I mean, that was like when Frog Graham left Pitt for Arizona State and said nothing to the players at all. He didn't even tell the athletic director. He went straight out to the Allegheny County Airport and got on at the corporate jet out at the airport there, and got on a Arizona State a private airplane and flew to Arizona State. Didn't even inform his team or nothing. He ended up doing it by text. Steve Peterson went up, knock on his door, he didn't even answer. So I mean, guys like that and coaches like that, they ought to be ashamed of themselves for doing that to their players. But that's the way of the world sometimes. But besides Satterfield getting hired at Cincinnati, we know about Matt Rule. He got hired at Wisconsin. Colorado hired Deion Sanders. South Florida hired Alex Golish, and you heard Leo Haggerty earlier say he's from the Tennessee. He was Tennessee's offensive coordinator this year. He's going to be used to seeing 100,000 fans in the stadium, and he's going to coach at South Florida, who play at Raymond James Stadium, where Tampa Bay plays, and they're lucky if they draw 10,000 a game. So Western Michigan has hired Lance Taylor. Remember, they fired Tim Lester. Auburn hired Hugh Freeze from Liberty. Liberty's not going to. Liberty could be the same. They just hired a new coach as well. And Arizona State hired Kenny Dillingham. Stanford's still looking. Florida Atlantic has hired Tom Herman to be their head coach. He's been around a long time as well. And UAB, we talked about this last week, hired Trent Dilfer. So University of Alabama, Birmingham. Liberty, guess who Liberty hired, Smokin' Jim? Jamie Chadwell. He was the coach at Coastal Carolina. He was the one that made them great. So he's now at Liberty. Tulsa hired Kevin Wilson. Georgia Tech gave Brent Key the keys to the castle. He was the interim coach. He won his first game against Pitt this year, and they gave him the job. Charlotte hired Biff. How about Biff Poggi? All right, there we go. Texas State hired C.J. Kilm. Coastal Carolina hired Tim Beck. Tim Beck's a pretty good assistant coach. We'll see what he does there as well. And transfer portal, we talked about Keaton Slovis. We talked about Phil Jakovic. And there's some other guys out here. Cade McNamara from Michigan. He's a quarterback that I have a list of quarterbacks here that all have transferred on or are going to transfer. Hudson Card from Texas. Jeff Sims from Georgia Tech. Hank Bachmere from Boise State. Let me see who else. Devon Leary. Here's one here. Devin Leary, NC State. Jacoby Criswell, North Carolina. These guys are decent quarterbacks, that are transferring on. That's why I said Pitt should have no problem getting a few more guys in here, but you can't stockpile them too much now because, everybody wants a taste of playing time. Smokin' Jim, any final thoughts before we wrap it up here?
You missed the biggest one, man. Deion Sanders is taking his son from Jackson State to Colorado.
Yeah, well, I didn't. Well, he's taking his son with him. Yeah, he did say that. And when he met with his team, he told him, if you don't want to play here, you can leave. And he told, you don't want to play, you can leave. Because he says, I'm going to take the best players and we're going to play with them. And I'm going to bring in the best, and I'm going to bring the best coaches in here. But if you don't want to play, you don't want to practice, you don't want to do anything, you can leave. I'm like wow. So, but when you become a new head coach, Smokin' Jim, you know how that is. You have to, lay the hammer down. You can't, be soft, and you know how that goes. So, but any final thoughts before we go?
No, I tell you what, I agree with you, what you said earlier, that still have an opportunity to close out the season in style. Let's see how well they do.
Yeah, I'm thinking they could be 6-0. I mean, go 6-0, or they could go 3-3. They could go 2-4. There's all these. They could go 4-2. They could go 5-1. I mean, but I think they have an opportunity. I really do. And now Carolina still can't figure out their quarterback situation to get rid of your buddy there, Baker Mayfield, or he wants out or traded or whatever. And I don't know who.
He signed. He signed.
Oh, who did he sign with today? I had some. He signed with the Rams.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, they need a quarterback. They need a lot of help. They're worse off than the Steelers. They're like 3-9. Oh my gosh, they're having a bad time down there. Sean McVay got egg on his face because he was more worried about hiring or bringing in free agents and had no draft picks to stockpile. He's lost all his draft picks because he spent the last 3 or 4 years trading them all away. And again, you have to build with the draft. And his idea was to build with free agents, and that's fine. You can do that. When the free agents get hurt, especially if you pay them big money, and I said this with the Dodgers this year, and the Dodgers laid an egg. Okay, I said, look, you can have $200 million payroll or $600 million or whatever. I don't care what you have. It's all what happens at the end of the year. And then at the end of the season, they blew it again in the playoffs with that roster and talent and payroll. People got hurt. They're making big money, and here they didn't make it to the World Series. So there you are.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've said that many times, about that, like that. So it's not all in who you pay or bring in, but if you have injuries, I don't care how much you're paying somebody. If you have injuries, it's a situation there. So, it really doesn't matter. But you're right. I think that Steelers might be able to just maybe do something. I mean, but I just painted you all the scenarios of records they could have. They could go 6-0, and get that lucky. If you get more Arthur Smiths and Jeff Saturdays. So Jeff Saturday really got exposed against Dallas. And did you hear they moved the New England Raiders game?
No.
Yeah, they moved it from Monday night to Sunday.
Really?
Yes. NFL made another move, just like they did with the Steelers in Cincinnati. They want to put somebody in there with a better record, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. They moved that. That's going to be a great game because you got Bill Belichick against Josh McDaniel, and teacher versus student.
Yeah. I didn't think they could move Monday night games.
Well, the NFL's doing it now. They
Wow.
I guess they figure, these two teams. I mean, New England's not that sad. New England's got a reasonable record. They're in the hunt still for the wild card. You know what I mean? But it's the Raiders that have a bad record, and I think they didn't want them in there. But how about that Baltimore game against Denver, 10-9? I mean, my gosh, I think Nathaniel Hackett was trying to save his job with Denver. I mean, so. But anyway, and anyhow, there's it's horrible what happened. Next week, Smokin' Jim, not only do we have Marty Leap coming on, there's a possibility we have Jerry DePaula coming on, and he's going to give us the scoop as a real reason why Keaton Slovis left. Okay, I don't think it was. I don't know what happened. He's getting down to it, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Pitt, the bowl game coming up like we did tonight. But Jerry DePaula here next week, possibility, and Marty Leap. And I would have had Steve Beliseri on tonight, but he had a family emergency, so he couldn't be here tonight. But we're going to get him on in the future again. Jim, on Talking Wrestling, a Hall of Fame wrestler had a heart attack, and I'll tell you who that is tomorrow night.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Wow.
But, I will give you a slight hint. He was once a Four Horseman.
Oh, my.
And there were a lot of people who were Four Horsemen. Because the Four Horsemen, other than the original, they've changed the lineup several times. Remember that, So, but, well, he was a Four Horseman. So, at one time. So that's the only hint I'm going to give you at this point. But then tomorrow night, we're going to talk about that. Don't forget, everybody, we are now on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Tomorrow night, myself, Smokin' Jim Frazier, talking wrestling, 7:30, 10:30 tomorrow night. I'll be on the Sports Web Turnbuckle Talk with myself, Peter Blake, and Mark Mancini. And then Thursday night, if you want even more wrestling, you got Smokin' Jim, myself, and Mark Mancini on Blog Talk Radio for Wrestle Talk. 347-205-9631. And we might just put a little bit of sports in there. But no, I'm sorry. We're not starting at 8 o'clock on Thursday night, Smokin' Jim. We're starting at 7:30 because we're on for an hour the next 2 weeks to make up for the one that we weren't on. We were supposed to be on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and then Mark had an emergency and couldn't be on. So we had to cut out for that day. But, we're back, and we're going to be on for an hour, 7:30, both this Thursday and next Thursday. Wrestle Talk, Blog Talk Radio, 347-205-9631. Call your friend, call your cousin, call somebody. Check out the also, I wanted to tell you, Smokin' Jim made an announcement last night that my new media company is going to be called RW Media.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so all my shows will still be under my name on Facebook and Twitter and all that, and on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe as well to that. And don't forget this Sunday, 7 p.m., the way I see it, and I have a prior obligation on Monday night and cannot make the broadcast, so we're going to have it Sunday night, 7 p.m. for your viewing pleasure. Always a lot to talk about there. For Smokin' Jim Frazier, we'll see you next Tuesday at 8:30 right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. And don't forget to watch our archive versions on my YouTube channel as well. And please do not forget to subscribe. We're getting up there in subscribers as well. For Smokin' Jim, I am Ralph Williams. Have yourself a great night and be safe. Thank you.